What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. We do a Destiny video every couple of months here, and with the release of the new season of The Haunted, I thought we'd go over what I'm currently using for Solar Hunter, which was recently reworked. If you are someone that usually watches my Warframe videos, and you're just trying to check out what's going on here, the general gist of this build I'm showing is going to be around AoE blowing stuff up, near permanently buffing our teammates' damage, and giving ourselves lots of tank stats with some recently reworked things for constant healing and damage reduction. So, this is going to be for the Hunter class. This will not work on other classes, but some of the weapons we're utilizing here can be used on other classes for big damage and synergy, okay? So, if you enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you let me know how you feel about it. There's definitely some things that be changed around here. This is kind of like a day one Hunter setup. Once I get more of the artifact mods, there's some really powerful artifact mods I'd like to try out with this setup, okay? So, let's get into it though. There's been lots of things changed with Hunter. We're going to just go over a lot of stuff here, so if you want to slow on the video or something like that, be my guest. Okay, so we're showing some Nightmare Containment gameplay. I believe this is 1580 level, and your power level set to 1570 while doing this, so it's not exactly the highest level content. And I'm going to already go off the bat and say, I think Void Hunter is better than this. It's really, really hard to compete with Perma Invis, Team Perma Invis for that matter, on Void Hunter. So what you're getting instead for this is more AoE damage, kind of, but definitely more weapon buffing. Weapon damage buffing is a big part of this playstyle right here. It's kind of like a support Hunter setup. So we're going to go over how you can basically permanently buff your teammates if you do things right. I'd say this is more for like legend level content. I would probably never ever bring this into a GM just because like Void Hunters are solidified as being very good in high level content. And like I said, that's not changing anytime soon. This ain't changing anytime soon. So either way, let's go over what we're utilizing here, and you can maybe make some changes to suit your playstyle, your favorite types of weapons. All right, so this is the new Solar Hunter here. Just starting from left to right, we're going to go over all the stuff. But let's first go over the stats that have been reworked this season. Resilience has been massively buffed in PvE. Just for a quick, comparison. With 90 resilience, I have 32% damage reduction in PvE. Also, if I was to go to tier 10, that's another 8% damage reduction. I would go to tier 10 if I could. I need to refarm all my armor because this stat was basically useless 3 days ago. Not completely useless, but not the most useful. So I can't even get to tier 10 resilience. So that I'm actually using over recovery, especially when we go over some of the mods we're utilizing for this setup here. So let's just start off with that. Resilience is a lot better now. So tier 10 is great. Whatever tier you can get to, I'd say it's worth modding for to some extent. And as far as supers, we've got Blade Barrage. So Blade Barrage got its damage increased this update. Doesn't require any aiming. It's also got the shortest cooldown of all Hunter Solar supers. 7 minutes 35 seconds, and the two different versions of Golden Gun are over 9 minutes each. Now, these can do more damage, but it also requires you to aim, which, this is an AoE explosions build. Aiming is optional, to say the least. So, we've gone with Blade Barrage. There's also some cheese we can do with this, too. I'll probably show you near the end of the video. But yeah, Blade Barrage, you can go for the other Golden Guns if you want to, but we went for Blade Barrage because of the faster cooldown and just lots of synergy. Alright, now Hunter has a new dodge ability called Acrobat's Dodge. What this will do is you basically do a little mini flip. Once you hit the ground, you are going to provide Radiant for yourself and teammates. Now what Radiant does is going to, well, at base, it's going to give an increase the weapon damage against enemies. It does work in PvP, and it does work in PvE, so that's all good. So what you can do with that is we're actually utilizing solar weapons. Now there's lots of things with the Hunter that are this Hunter build that require solar weapons. So what you're going to want to do is get some weapons that have solar damage and pretty good stats. So one of my top recommendations to you is if you can get into Trials of Osiris, get the Summoner. The Summoner auto rifle is amazing with Solar 3.0. Because we can blow up so many enemies with our abilities, which we'll go over in a second, there's this perk called Golden Tricorn. What this does is basically you get a kill with the weapon, gives you a damage buff. And if you get a kill with a ability matching the same element as the weapon, it gives you even more damage for a longer duration. So additionally, we've got armor piercing rounds do increased damage to shields. And the god roll for this for PvE would be like Golden Tricorn Overflow. Also, we've got the special Trials perk Alacrity. You get a bunch of extra stats when you're the last living member of your fire team or running solo. So if you're going into these missions solo, this is always active, and this gun is a stat beast. It already has high stats, but with Alacrity in a solo squad and Golden Tricorn, it's basically like a machine gun. So really highly recommend this. If you don't want to play Trials for whatever reason, by the way, you can get this from losing every game. But if you don't have this from playing Trials, there's lots of other choices. If you want an auto rifle, the Arctic Haze from Europa is solar, doesn't get Golden Tricorn, but still decent. Borrowed Time for melee kills. If you wanted to switch to a different type of weapon, you can get Golden Tricorn on the Retraced Path, which is a trace rifle. It's also solar. So you got lots of choices here. But that's what we're utilizing here is the Summoner. Very, very good. And our heavy weapon of choice is the G-Horn. It's back from D1, and it means business. It blows everything up. And if you haven't played D2, and you know what the D2 version of Gjallarhorn works, basically, it's really, really strong, but it's even stronger now because if your teammates have rocket launchers that are not exotic, so if they have a legendary rocket launcher, they will become mini versions of G-Horn if you have your G-Horn equipped. So, allies nearby get Wolfpack rounds built into their rocket launchers if you are wielding this weapon. So, it's crazy. It's really, really good. It requires a specific DLC to get this, unfortunately, but it's a pretty fun DLC, and this weapon is well worth the price. I'm going to just go ahead and call it that, I guess, the price. So, continuing to go over these abilities and stuff like that, we're going to go over the big synergy loop between getting basically permanent Radiant for yourself and your teammates. And what we're utilizing for that is we're actually using the weighted throwing knife. There are lots of knife choices nowadays for the Hunter, but this one is going to be the best for our synergy setup. So, you throw a knife that has pretty good precision damage and causes Scorch targets to ignite. There's a new thing, there's a new mechanic where there's Scorch. Basically, if you've ever played Stasis, you get 100 stacks of slow and it freezes you. Kind of look at it like that. 100 stacks of Scorch will make the enemy explode in an ignition, which is a big fire explosion in the area. We don't really care about that at all for our setup, but I'm just letting you know what that does. So, the general idea of this, you get a headshot kill with this knife. It immediately recharges your dodge, which if you have this Acrobat's dodge, this cooldown is longer than the normal Hunter dodge. So, I might end up switching back to the normal Hunter dodge. As you can see, this one's 1 minute, 22 seconds. The other one's like 29 and 38 seconds. But either way, get a headshot kill with this knife. You get your entire dodge back. That's like a 1 minute cooldown you're bypassing. Additionally, if you get a precision kill with this, like I said, if you get a kill with it, it will refresh. And we've got some other things here. So, knock them down. While Radiant, final blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refund your melee energy. So, you don't even need to get a headshot kill if you have knock them down equipped. So you can just keep spamming knives over and over again. And if you go over our shards here, powered melee attacks against combatants make you and your nearby allies radiant. You can literally spam the knife constantly. And it actually, the way it works is that you throw the knife out, and getting that kill will automatically make you radiant and refresh the knife. So, infinite knives, which are making you and your teammates radiant, and you know that's pretty good for many things. You could use that for a solar elemental well generator setup. We're not using that for this setup, but that's something you could do. You could even go for, maybe like a freeze setup. If you freeze an enemy, they take increased damage from kinetic, I believe it is. So if you have a weapon like the Deliverance, which comes from the Vow of the Disciple raid, we have a perk called Chill Clip. Direct hits with the top half of the magazine will cause a detonation slowing enemies. If you do this twice, it freezes the enemy and they'll take increased damage from kinetic. And the knife is kinetic, I believe. So should be pretty good there. And yeah, this is our weapon setup. So we can freeze enemies even though we're on solar. We have a really powerful primary weapon which can shred enemies from pretty far away, which for some of these public events you need to be shooting from pretty far away. And we have one of the most powerful weapons in the entire game, the Gjallarhorn, which will just blow up everything and provide big DPS. So let's go over the mods for our armor. Like I said, Resilience is very important. I'm going to need to farm some new armor to properly utilize this. But I didn't even go over the last couple things we have on here. So Thermite Grenade's my grenade of choice. You can go over some other stuff too. But this is a nice like AoE line of fire. Doesn't provide many Scorch stacks, but it's really nice for getting our our new ability, Gunpowder Gamble, back. This is basically a stick of dynamite you can throw. It's got some weird mechanics to it we'll go over here. But basically, you don't want a single target grenade if you're trying to get this Gunpowder Gamble to go off. You need to be killing multiple enemies with a grenade at a time, or just spamming knives. But the thing is, sometimes you're going to mess up your knife throw. So that's what I wanted to keep in mind here. The other choices that I've been trying out, Incendiary Grenade. It's got longer cooldown than Thermite Grenade, so And Solar Grenade is actually pretty good too, but it just feels weird to use a Solar Grenade Hunter, so I haven't really been utilizing that much. But yeah, as far as our aspects, Gunpowder Gamble. It's a new type of grenade you get in addition to your normal grenades. So let's show how this works. So as you can see right here, I have my Thermite Grenade in the bottom left corner. So how you're going to get Gunpowder Gamble, you need to either get kills with solar abilities or solar weapons. So solar weapons are very important here to get your Gunpowder Gamble back. So it's currently a Thermite Grenade. I get a couple kills with some abilities. As you can see, now my grenade is different. It says Gunpowder Gamble ready. Now what the Gunpowder Gamble is a new grenade type. You can shoot it mid-air, or you can just let it stick to things. And as you can see, with our build, we actually made a bunch of solar elemental wells. And with our elemental well setup, one of our abilities is giving us constant health regen. Even if the enemies are shooting at us, we are a tank. Now this is a low-level lost sector, so it's not going to really scale as well. But you can see what we're kind of going for here. Infinite throwing knives, infinite exploding dynamite grenades that apparently you can blow yourself up with, and just permanent weapon buffs too. Of course, we're providing a Radiant. If we had teammates with us, they'd be getting Radiant as well. And it's pretty nice. So, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing about Gunpowder Gamble. There's a couple of mechanics to it that you need to be aware of if you want to utilize this. So for one of them, as you can see this little bar right here, one solar ability kill will give you 4 notches in the bar. Solar weapon kills will give you 1 notch in the bar. You need 6 notches to get your Gunpowder Gamble back. Additionally, once you throw Gunpowder Gamble and blow it up, there is a 15-second cooldown. During that 15-second cooldown, getting kills will not progress the Gunpowder Gamble bar at all. As you can see, we should have gotten 4 from that. We got 0. So that's something you need to keep in mind. It is going to be pretty much a little bit limiting in how often you can get it back, but it is quite powerful, so it's nice to have, in my opinion. Now the other option for that is one that gives like increased reload speed and stability, but it gives you another fragment slot, so that can be nice for some people. Now let's go over a trick you can do with exotics and the Blade Barrage super. We'll go over all the mods here in a second. So we're using Star Eater scales. The way this works is that every orb you pick up is double in effectiveness, getting you to your super even faster. Additionally, if you pick up orbs after your super is full, it gives you increased damage. We're not really worrying about that increased damage part right now. We're worrying about getting our super as fast as possible. So we pick up a bunch of orbs. Once we get our orbs full, we can actually switch exotics to Shards of Galanor. What Shards of Galanor will do is that when we throw out our Blade Barrage super, getting a hit with it or getting a kill with it will give you some super energy back. So what we're going to do is we're going to be just hanging out with Star Eater scales equipped. Once we get our super bars full, we're going to go in our inventory. We're going to switch to like some legendary boots, then switch back to Shards of Galanor. If you can afford to do that, or if you care enough to do that. If you don't care enough to do that, just stay on Star Eater scales the whole time. Once we find enemies we want to super, we super them. And as you can see, we got about half our super back. Now you switch back to your Star Eater scales, and now you're going to get your super back in no time at all. Okay, so once we get some orbs up in here, we are going to be able to get our super back at max speed. And of course the Galahorn with our mod stuff will make it so we can produce solar elemental wells, no problem. That's our health regen. And even though we're surrounded by enemies, it's not too big of a problem. Let's go ahead and freeze that guy. So yeah, this is just going to be a very good ad clear build. This season is definitely based around killing lots of enemies and killing some high health enemies as well. So let's show what mods we're utilizing here if you want to try to duplicate this build. It's got a lot of moving parts. Actually, it's got too many moving parts for the game's UI to handle. As you can see right there, we have Unstable Essence buff right there. But we have so many buffs going off that it's like, it only displays like 3 or 4 buffs at a time. So you're not going to exactly know what everything is going on at once. But let me just tell you, there's a lot of buffs going off. So let's show what we're utilizing here mod-wise, because we already briefly over the weapons. If you don't have Deliverance Adept, I think there's a couple new Stasis Fusion Rifles this season that you can utilize as well. But yeah, let's just go over quickly this stuff before we get into the mods. So Gunpowder Gamble, really good for getting that new grenade, which is a big AoE. Knock them down, gives you more projectiles on your Blade Barrage, and gives you that Radiant Throwing Knife refund. So you really want to use this one. The extra Blade Barrage projectiles is very nice for Shards of Galanor as well to get more super back, more reliably. And their fragments, these are up for debate, but I'd say this one right here, Ember of Torches, is necessary for this setup because powered melee attacks against combatants make you and your nearby allies radiant. That's going to really feed into this knock them down loop. Ember of Torches, knock them down, great synergy for the hunter. But we've got Ember of Tempering. Solar weapon final blows grant you and your allies increased recovery for a short duration, stacks 3 times. So if we get 3 kills of the Galanor or Galahorn, that's going to give us maxed out health regen, basically. And we already are regenerating health, so we are getting even more tanky here. And then we've got Ember of Wonder. I'm basically just using this because it gives me 10 more resilience so I can be more tanky. But what it's supposed to do is rapidly defeating multiple targets with solar ignitions, generates an orb of power. The grenade from Gunpowder Gamble is an ignition, so that will give you an orb of power on Gunpowder Gamble kill. So once we go over our mods here, let's go over everything in great detail. So Gunpowder Gamble is a grenade, and we're getting lots of kills with it. So Ashes to Assets gives us increased super energy on grenade kill. There's plenty of times you get like a third of your super back from one Gunpowder Gamble toss that you shoot out of the air. So that's pretty nice. We've got Harmonic Siphon, rapid weapon final blows with a weapon damage type. Matching your subclass will give you an orb of power. Perfect. We're using Galahorn and Summoner, so those are both solar weapons. Perfect there. And then here's a big one here, Explosive Wellmaker. Rapidly defeating combatants with explosive damage spawns a solar elemental well. We have so many explosions we're utilizing here. This is perfect. And what solar elemental wells will do is they can synergize with other mods, but they'll also give us ability energy back. And since it's a matching element, we'll get grenade, melee, and class ability, which is our dodge. So very good there. Of course, we're modding for resilience, try to get that as high as possible. For our gloves, we've got Font of Might. So what this does is we pick up a elemental well matching our subclass, which is solar. You will get an increase the weapon damage, and we generate a lot of elemental wells in gameplay. So yeah, lots and lots of weapon damage increase, makes our summoner a machine gun basically, makes our Galahorn like a nuke launcher, and the rest of this stuff you can change it to whatever seasonal mod you want to utilize. But I just went with Fusion Rifle Loader because the Deliverance has kind of slow reload speed. But yeah, whatever champions you're fighting against. This season's not the best for champion mods, I'd say. We got Anti-Barrier Pulse, Anti-Barrier Sidearms, so since we're using the Summoner, Overload rounds is pretty decent. Yeah, that's going to be up to you, whatever you guys want to mod for on the gloves. And then one of the seasonal mods this season is actually Armor of the Dying Star. Reduces incoming solar damage and void damage. You can double stack this for big damage reduction. But if you had an arc piece of armor, you could switch it to arc, then you could have arc, solar, and void damage resistance if you put that in this slot. But whatever. We went with Well of Life. Picking up those solar elemental wells gives you that health regen we were just showing off. Very, very good if the enemies aren't dealing too much damage per shot. As this health regen is constant, and even if you're being damaged, you will be regenerating health. So very good for the hunter who does not really have any health regen built in. For the shoes, we've got Bountiful Wells. Now, what this one does is it lets you basically spawn more elemental wells when you get a kill, depending on which mod you utilize. So we're using 2 explosive well makers, so we're making like 2 or 3 wells per kill, as long as the cooldown's up. So we're getting lots and lots of ability energy back. We're getting our health regen basically guaranteed. We're getting our solar weapons buffed up. It's really, really nice. But once we get some of those high tier artifact mods, I'll probably end up swapping this out in the future because there's a little bit of diminishing returns with solar elemental wells. We've got Innervation. Picking up an orb reduces your grade cooldown. Very good for spamming our thermite grenades. And we'll be getting plenty of orbs of those ignition kills. Fusion Rifle Scavenger. You could just go with like Rocket Launcher Scavenger here with 1 more mod point. But just basically to get your ammo back. You could go double Innervation if you wanted to for even more grenades. Or even go for Recuperation. Picking up a orb gives you health, a chunk of health. But we just went with Fusion Rifle Scavenger because that's what I wanted to utilize this time. And then the final armor piece here, we have the Eidolon Hunter Cloak. That's pretty much what it says to me. We've got another Explosive Wellmaker for more wells. We've got Bomber, reduces the grenade cooldown whenever you use your class ability. Very good for getting lots of grenades. And then we've got Molten Overload solar grenades. Like I said, we'll be switching to something else once I get more artifact mods here, but that's a general gist of it. So yeah, overall, I'd say that I'm happy with Solar 3.0 on Hunter specifically. I like the Gambler's Gunpowder Gamble, I think it's called. I can never remember the name, but Gunpowder Gamble, that's what it's called. I like the fact I'm actually buffing my teammates now. That's really nice. And that all of these weapon buffs should stack together, actually. Golden Tricorn, Radiant, and Font of Might, those should all stack together for like basically a double damage summoner. So yeah, I highly would recommend the summoner. It feels really good at the distances we're fighting at in this in the Nightmare Containment public event. So if you want to try that out, go for it. But yeah, like once I get, so there's some other artifact mods I want to try out. So I don't have them all unlocked yet, but I think this top tier stuff about to be insane. So this one right here, your ignitions do increased damage and increased radius. That should work on Gunpowder Gamble, making it an even bigger AoE. Flame Harvesting, solar exotic final blows create solar elemental wells. I mean, every solar weapon will be good with that, so that might be crazy. That's only on the class that it's 5 energy, so we'll have to see. While Radiant, solar precision final blows cause enemies to ignite. That's also crazy. 6 energy for that one. Radiant Orb, pick up an orb, makes you radiant, so that's very easy too. So there's lots of good stuff on here that I'm going to unlock eventually, but for a non-seasonal build, this will also work in the future too. So yeah, let me know how you guys felt about it. You don't have to do the Shards of Galanor swapping thing. That was just kind of for fun. It's way too try hard for the level of content we're currently playing, but I just want to let you guys know that is possible for very, very fast supers. Get like half your super back from Shards, and then switch back to starter scales and pick up like 4 or 5 orbs that your teammates probably already generated while you were in your inventory, and then get your super back, swap back and forth, back and forth. You got a good amount of damage reduction and healing, so you probably won't die while you're doing that. So it's pretty nice. Let me know how you guys felt about this build in the comments down below. I actually really like it a lot, but I will be doing some more experimenting once I unlock some more stuff here. So I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate all the support and take it easy. Peace.